What's going on, everyone? Welcome back. We got some more Dead Space news because apparently this is just flooding on in. And breaking news, I'm not wearing any pants. So let's talk about Dead Space because the remake is, I guess, well on its way. So we've already done 2 videos regarding Dead Space and the remake, reboot, revival rumors that are going on. Jeez, that's a lot of R's. Remake, revival, reboot, and remaster. Rumors. 5 R's. The 5 R's of Dead Space. So instead of doing a Dead Space 4, the alleged rumors are that a reboot was happening, or a revival of the series. And so there's been some more information that's dropped. The reboot, remakes, or whatever are heavily inspired by the success of the Resident Evil series, which I mentioned before in a previous video. I'll go ahead and I will link. I have a playlist for all these Dead Space videos. You want to go ahead and take a look at them. These rumors or discussions are basically exactly that. Due to the success of the Resident Evil franchise basically having a renaissance starting from Resident Evil 7, and the success of Resident Evil 2 Remake, and to a lesser extent Resident Evil 3 Remake, as well as the current success for Resident Evil Village, EA has made the decision to go ahead and bring back the Dead Space series, which is about freaking time. Like, for real. This is a series that it's beloved by many people. And I've said this many times. If they can bring back Fatal Frame, if Nintendo can go ahead and be like, okay, we're going to allow Fatal Frame to come back, and Fatal Frame 5 is going to be re-released as a HD remaster on all platforms, not just on the Nintendo Switch. If they can do that, EA can for sure come out and say, we're making another Dead Space game. Or, a lesser extent, at least an HD remaster of the 4 games. Like, I want to say trilogy, but there's 4 games, okay? If you've never played Dead Space Extraction, you should play Dead Space Extraction. With that being said, another reason why they are going ahead with the Dead Space revival is the Callisto Protocol. If you don't know what the Callisto Protocol is, it's a new game that's being developed by the previous producers or executive producers and creators of Dead Space. And over the years, the former developers of Visceral Games and the Dead Space series always wanted to make more. And EA has they played this really weird game. Instead of making another Dead Space game, instead of continuing the series of the franchise, they said, you know what, we're going to go ahead and we're going to disband the Visceral game, the Visceral division. Because Visceral Games was a division of EA, and they were the ones who were in charge of making Dead Space. But even doing so, EA claimed that the Dead Space series was never really dead. But to us, it was, because Dead Space developers moved on to other projects, joined other teams, and we never heard anything about Dead Space for 8 years, because it was 2013 when Dead Space 3 released. So now, after all this time, we have Dead Space coming back. And this is a weird situation we're in, because not only do we have the success of Resident Evil, right? Like Resident Evil Village, whether you like it or you don't, most people like it. And I'm one of those people. I thoroughly enjoy Resident Evil Village. Resident Evil 7 was better. Remake 2 was better. But anyways, I do enjoy Village. And with the current rumors of Resident Evil 4 Remake being on the horizon, Resident Evil 9, I mean, Capcom is just killing it with their return to horror franchise. Where does that leave other games? I mean, like, we had this real pun intended, dead space of, of horror games that got flooded with games like, Layers of Fear, Outlast, but they all follow the same trope, the same tradition of just run and hide, or you just walk and, you can't really defend yourself. There's no combat. There's no nothing. It's just run and hide. And I honestly, personally, I hate those type of horror games. I miss the horror games like Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil 3, like Silent Hill, like Dead Space. I like those types of horror games where I can defend myself but still be terrified, because the atmosphere just absolutely terrifies you. And that's something that we've been missing for so very long, until Resident Evil 7 came about. Because Resident Evil 6 released, and even selling as well as it did, people didn't really like Resident Evil 6. And then Resident Evil 7 released, and yes, Resident Evil 7 rode on the heels of PT Demo, but it stands on its own because it was being developed at the same time as PT Demo was. It just happened to release after PT Demo. And yes, credit where credit's due, PT Demo did kind of give that resurgence into the horror atmosphere and made people want a new horror game. And here we are today, and horror is back on on everybody's minds, as far as, a type of genre that people really want. So more specifically, survival horror. Because Resident Evil 7 was a survival horror game. Resident Evil 2 Remake was a survival horror game. Resident Evil 3 was not a survival horror game. I mean, maybe if you play on the harder difficulties, yes. It was more action-based than anything else. I would say it's more action horror. And then Resident Evil Village is not a survival horror. It's more action horror. I don't even call it horror, except for, the Beneviento house. And that would be the only horror section of the game. But anyways, I'm, diverging here. So with the possible return of even Silent Hill, which I discussed in another video, I'll go ahead and link it over here. With even the possibility of Silent Hill returning, we're seeing a new resurgence of survival horror. And I love it. God, horror is one of my favorite game genres to play. And somebody asked me why that is in one of my recent live streams. You should join me in my live streams. And the reason why, for me, horror is one of the best, genres of video games is because most of the time, not all the time, most of the time, horror games have good stories to them. They have very intricate storytelling, or ways of telling their story that's not always in your face. Yes, you have the main story. So say, for example, like Resident Evil 7, right? You have the main story of the Baker house, but then you have all the little tidbits of lore that are scattered throughout, Resident Evil 7. Same thing with Dead Space. Yes, you have the main story of Dead Space, but then you have the tidbits of lore that's scattered throughout the game. And it's a very intricate way of storytelling that just drives you further into that world. Silent Hill does the same thing. And, I love that. I love being drawn into the world and then going even further into that universe because of the way that the story is being told. It's something that I enjoy. And most of the time as well, horror games are typically shorter games, that anywhere between 6 to 9 hours. 69, nice. 6 to 9 hours. And that gives you the time to be able to replay the game if it has good replayability to it. Not all horror games do. Sometimes they're just one and dones, and that's okay too. Like Layers of Fear, I beat, Layers of Fear 1 and 2, and that was it. I never touched it again. Not to say I didn't enjoy my time with it. It's just I found no reason to go back to it. Unlike other ones like Resident Evil 2 Remake, Resident Evil 7, Dead Space, Fatal Frame. Those type of games I go back to for a reason, because I want to learn more about the world that those games are in, and it just draws me into that universe. And that's one of the things that I'm most excited for. Can EA screw this up? Absolutely. Am I worried that they're going to screw this up? Absolutely. But what gives me hope is that they put care and effort into their single player games as of recent memory. You know, you had games like Jedi Fallen Order, which was very well received. And don't get me wrong, I don't like Jedi Fallen Order because of the way that the game is. It's an open world game. I just it didn't flow well with me. I prefer Force Unleashed, but that's besides the point. Jedi Fallen Order was very well received. Star Wars Squadrons. I love Star Wars Squadrons. If you never played Star Wars Squadrons, you should. If you ever played Star Wars Rogue Squadron back on the N64 days or the GameCube, it's very reminiscent to that. And it's a gorgeous game. Very well done. The gameplay is a lot of fun. And, you know, that there's other things as well. Like, oh, I can't think of it off the top of my head. It's a game I play, you know. Where is it? Can't reach it. Can't reach it. I got it. It Takes Two. Sorry. It Takes Two. You know, it's fantastic game. Although this is a 2-player game, you have to play it 2 players. But still a fantastic game. They did a hell of a job with that. So things like that, like, it gives me hope that they can do a good job with the new Dead Space or the Dead Space remake or whatever the hell they're doing, honestly. I'm just excited to hear that Dead Space is coming back, and I'm going to keep talking about it. I'm going to keep talking about it because I love this franchise. I love it. It's so well done with the exception of Part 3. Okay? I don't like Part 3. I really don't. Although I will replay it soon. But there's so much in the Dead Space series. You have the movies, you have the games, you have the books. I haven't read the books, but I'm going to be doing that soon because I'm going to have a new YouTube channel pretty soon where I'm going to be reading books, you know, video game books, like this Resident Evil book right here, which I've already started doing on, you know, recording videos for that channel. That channel's not live yet, so don't worry about it. I can't wait to jump back into the Dead Space universe. And if it is a remake, that's okay, as long as they follow the formula that's laid out for them in the original game. Similar to how Resident Evil 2 Remake followed the formula mostly of the original Resident Evil 2. Yes, they did make some cuts for the, you know, for storytelling purposes and all that stuff, and that's okay. That is okay. I just want it to be done well. So thank you guys so much for watching, and let me know how excited you guys are for Dead Space to be just coming back into our lives. Make sure you guys hit the thumbs up, subscribe if you guys are new, and I will see you guys later. And no, I will not put pants on. Peace out.